Well, hello everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me here today. It's a real privilege to be here actually, and I've just been shown around, and I just want to say how impressed I am at the work that's happening here, because it's very seldom that you see, actual activism, I like to call it, which is physically helping people. There's a lot of stuff that's happening all over the country at the moment, and I'm on board with a lot of it. A lot of the activism is absolutely necessary. But there isn't enough community. That's what we need as a nation. We need to get back to.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Just get Paul's up there. Good evening. Thank you very much.
John. Be with you in a second.
And our guest tonight, Jayda Fransen, the lovely Jayda. How are you, Jayda?
I'm very well, John. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. And
Good.
that was a little introduction when Jayda did a speech at our conference at the PTSD camp, and in her voice you can hear how impressed she was, because she just had a walk round with Joe at that time, and blood, sweat and tears has gone into that camp off many people. Some of them aren't friends with it, know who they are, and blood, sweat and tears have gone into that camp. And you can hear it in Jayda's voice, and I love that little bit. It gets me dead emotional when it comes on. But welcome to the show, packed with guests tonight. Up, down, left and right, we've got them all here. We are, though, going to go to Steve first to give us a bit of an update on what's going on at the camp. While he's doing that, I'll show you a couple of pictures of stuff that we've had done at the camp since the conference. Steve, how are you?
Yeah, fine. Great to be on your show, and of course, it's wonderful to have you and the other lads, from your party up. And as I say, that was a fantastic conference, and I think there's only one way, and that's up for your party. And hopefully, you'll come back and use our facilities again, which are 10 times better than they were before. I think if you've got one or two pictures of the camp, John, if you could put them up.
One sec. They're coming.
Yeah, just while we're waiting, you'll see the poster behind me. Obviously, I don't need to remind everyone that it's Remembrance this week, this weekend. Okay, this is our new...
Go on.
This is our new inside the clubhouse, and we actually got a donation. And we accept donations from everyone, and we had this gymnasium that gave us this boxing ring, and we think, well, what are we going to do for with a boxing ring? But it actually proved very useful, because the rubber matting that was on the bottom, we actually, in true sort of military fashion, we cut it all up and put it into squares, and it's lovely, sort of spongy on your feet in the clubhouse. So that's new, and that will serve us well. And we're making an extension where you, John will know this, and the others who have been to the camp. We did have an outside area which was pretty open, but we've actually enclosed it now, so we're actually almost finished. With the target of finishing the outside extension by the 1st of December. So this is our one side of the outside clubhouse. This is another view, the other end. And it's going to be, all wood stained, and everything else, windows in, and that means we can start to have, more events over the winter period. It's really difficult, if you come to the bunkhouse or come to the clubhouse and you're all sitting around the inside of a fire. But with these new facilities, it means we can have film night. We can have, a guest during the winter, and therefore it's we were very pleased that you used it as a conference, and I am hoping that we can get people like the British Legion to come and visit the camp. If a bunch of sea cadets want to visit the camp, so we're moving into a new sort of adventure and more exciting times where we're going to have an A1 facility, for visiting friends and family. So just on that, I did mention friends and family, because with effect from November the 1st, we're actually changing the name of the camp. I mean, most of you know it as PTSD Camp Bath, but we're actually changing the name because over the time I've been here, and it's really, I think some people think that, perhaps you need PTSD to actually come to the camp, but that's not actually true. So we do feel, with a name change, because it's going to be known as PTSD Camp Bath, Friends and Family, which opens the door slightly, because we look on you as, part of the veterans sort of family, not actually veterans yourself, but those people who actually support the veterans, and that's pretty helpful for us. But when we speak to the Department of Work and Pensions, the Veterans Champion, this is more in line with the context, and we say, look, you don't have to be, have PTSD to come here, but we do support, veterans, with PTSD camp. And you can see we actually have a new email, veteranscampbath@gmail.com, and then the telephone number, that's just the admin telephone, which I run as sort of looking after the administration for the camp. So I think it's a pretty exciting time ahead for us, and we very much welcome your support. So I do thank you for giving us the opportunity to come on and sort of spread the word. I have, in true Steve O style, already. There's only one of these. I've made it. I might actually raffle it, but I've already made myself a veterans mug, and also
that might go missing over at weekend, pal. I can tell you. You better hide it. You better lock it up in your bunk.
Yeah, and also, in true Steve O style, if you want to get ahead, get a hat. John, I've made you one as well. Veterans Camp. To have a hat.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Thank you. And I'm going to be doing a week about the PTSD camp soon. And why I can tell you, I can do a week from the beginning. I was the first person at that camp. Ask Joe. Talk to anyone else. Me. It wasn't a veteran, it was me. I was the first person at that camp, and I've seen the development from the very beginning. If people want to question things, you come to me and I'll tell you. But we're going to be doing a week about the camp before Christmas. I've got thousands of photographs of that camp being built from scratch. I'll be putting TikToks out. I'll be doing stuff on Facebook and stuff. And we're going to be talking about the camp for a full week. And again, I only know this because I was the first person at that camp before it was made into anything. So I know, and I've been through it all the way. So that's what we're going to do. And obviously, we're going to be starting up sort of like a regular weekly stream with Steve, veterans, whoever, supporters and everything, all about veterans. And we'll be starting that up soon. I've got a good record. I've been doing it for 3 years, along with our party talk show that we're on now. We've had hundreds of guests, talked about dozens and dozens of subjects or whatever, mainly UK politics, local politics, elections, all that. But we'll be continuing from there. So thank you, Steve. Thank you very much, Steve. How many people are at the camp at the moment? Can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, some people like to keep a low profile, but we have helped a number of people. We had one person who who was just waiting for his passport, and he couldn't get anyone to send his passport to. So he came to the camp for a couple of weeks, you know, and that allowed him a firm base to have his passport. We've got someone else who's not, you know, and that's why we changed it to friends and family. We've actually got someone staying here who's not a current or hasn't been a veteran, but his parents were, and so we're helping him. He's just having a problem.
Is that
with
by
his
any
hand.
chance Gareth?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And guys, Gareth's story is just unbelievable. I'm not going to say nothing, but I have talked that this thing's going on with these two men, and one of them's Gareth. But anyway, I'll be seeing Gareth at weekend, and we get a few days together. But great guy, South Wales. Actually, he's a trainer, trains in MMA fighting and all that kind of stuff. Really good bloke, and he's been really good at the camp as well because he gets on, helps building stuff. He's helped build that extension and done stuff at the camp. So, and that's what we love about the camp. You can come down, even if you're not a veteran, you've got some skills with you, and we'll put you to good use within the camp. And we have done that over a 5-year period. Lots of different civilians with lots of different skills, electricians, plumbers, builders, machine drivers, and stuff like that. Come to the camp, spent a weekend or whatever, and built something. So we're really into that kind of stuff and community at the camp. And you heard Jayda talk about community, and which I think is really good. We need to think about community and building them strengths between people we know, and stuff like that. It's all in the bigger picture of helping everything. But anything else at the camp, Steve?
Yeah, I'll just say one more thing. I do apologise. I haven't got my poppy because it actually fell off when I was walking from the clubhouse to the bunkhouse. But I've actually, you'll see the flag behind there. And on Remembrance Day, we're going to have the bottom of that flag, 281 poppies. Can anyone hazard a guess as what those poppies will represent?
281. Is that how many people have took their lives, maybe?
Soldiers in the Falklands?
Yeah, no, 200. It was actually, you're very close, actually. 283 people died in the Falklands conflict. And that reminds me, there is a wonderful event going to take place in Weymouth. I think it's the 20th, the week starting the 20th of November, where they've put a monument up for each. It's a soldier in silhouette, but it's for everyone who was killed in the Falklands. But John is right. It's the known, and I say known. There may be more, but it's for the to date. There is actually, you know, public records would say there's 281 veterans who've took their own lives, and we like to think, you know, in our small part of the veterans camp here, you know, they'll
in what time span is that, Steve? 281.
I was told that was from March. That was until March this year. That's the only. That's the latest update they've got. They don't have any.
From what year?
2024. I think it runs from March 2024 till March 2020.
Yeah, in a year, Pat. It's a year.
Right, so it's in 1 year, right? That's disturbing, isn't it?
But you know, we don't get to hear a lot about this. We really don't. You know, mental health in general is something that's like scorned upon. Honestly, it is. It's scorned upon. There's only righteous people who understand, who've got good morals and like faith, that we understand these things. But you know, it's a big thing, and I've seen all this through 5 years. You know what I mean? And I've talked about Mike, a veteran who's at the camp, a couple of times. I've met the guys. I've talked to them. I've heard them being triggered when fireworks have gone off and stuff like that. Honestly, I've been through all this, and it's not good, man. And I do talk about mental health anyway in general a lot. And a lot of the soldiers, there's X amount in like prison or have done things wrong, but they just need a bit of TLC. It's not that they're nasty people. A lot of people just need TLC, and then they won't be in so much trouble. But anything else, Steve?
Yeah, just one last thing. We're look forward if you're coming next week. We're going to have a Remembrance Day parade on Sunday, so we'll all be booted and spurred with our green berets and red berets and medals. But you're very welcome to join. So it's not all gloom and doom. I mean, we love that. You know, you have women who have jumped out of planes, you know, that from the Special Operations Group, and it's actually a wonderful day, and it's marvelous to see that, you know, that there's a lot of veterans out there who did 22 years in a service, and you know, a bit of blood, sweat, and tears, you know, didn't hurt them, you know. So there's a lot of good, out there, and we look forward to our. If you're Royal Marine, actually, you get sandwiches before you start the. Because we're so old and bold now, we get sandwiches before we go on parade to make sure we don't keel over before the parade starts, and then we get a meal kind of afterwards. But anyway, I'll let you get on. I've got a para here who's been working as a carpenter, and I think I'll be toast if I don't cook his sausage and beans. So you'll have to excuse me.
Is that this person here in my picture?
Yeah, it's a standard bearer. I can't. Yeah, it's the para standard bearer. Yeah, Jimmy. I know
who I'm talking about. And this guy here, Captain Adrian, Falklands Para. We've talked with Adrian a few times. He supports the camp, and so does his son. And he did a wonderful speech for Alfie, who passed away last year. He did a wonderful speech for Alfie. And I'm just honoured that I've know these guys. You know what I mean? I'm just honoured with them. And I've met all these lot over the past 5 years, all of them. But I'm just really honoured, and I'm looking forward to getting down to camp this Friday. Any of my mates know where it is. Come on down. And if you want to know about the camp, come to it. Right, be right back. I'm being shouted.
Then, do you mind I'll just go and cook this sausage and beans for Jimmy, but you'll see him this weekend, and as I say, we'll all be booted and spurred. But I'm not going to ball my boots up like Jimmy's done. But there you go. I'll see you at the weekend, and
all
good
right.
luck. Everything
no
you do.
Thank you, Steve. Pat, over to you. I'll leave it to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Steve. Yeah, so basically, Jayda kindly spoke at our conference, which was at the Veterans PTSD Camp back in August. And it was really nice that Godfrey Bloom came down as well to do a speech. And the reason he came down is because I asked him, does he agree with our policy of leaving NATO? And we're very passionate about leaving NATO. And Godfrey Bloom did an excellent speech, as well as Jayda did as well. And it was a really good conference. And how did you find it, Jayda?
I thought it was great. Godfrey did do a very good speech, didn't he, about NATO? He's very passionate about NATO.
Yes.
He knows all of his stuff. I thought it was brilliant. And actually, those pictures are amazing, seeing all that work that's gone on since we were there, which doesn't seem that long ago, but time flies. But yeah, I had the tour.
You said you wanted to say more in your speech. What did you want to say in your speech?
Oh, no, I mean, look, I could talk about this kind of stuff for a long time, especially what you guys are doing, because it does kind of play into what I said at the beginning about community. And I think that people are starting to realize now more than ever that community is the key. Like even earlier on today, I saw some footage of some Muslims in a mosque. They've built a gym underneath their prayer area, and they're all teaching them how to train. They're training in MMA. And I just thought, well, this is what community looks like, you know, and actually, if we don't get back to that, we don't really stand a chance. So to see to see an outfit, if you like, that's put in so much effort to help veterans. And there were other people there were people that were staying and what have you. And I just thought it was a really great initiative. So I'm really pleased to see the work that's going on. And I'd like to, after the show, I'll message one of you guys to get some details so that I can make a personal donation to them, because it won't be anything huge. But I think we need to support things like this. It's so important. So important. And it was a great place for you guys to have a conference, because you could have picked anywhere. You could have picked any of these. I've been to so many conferences. I've organised conferences for political parties and just in the background. Obviously, I've held my own. And a lot of the time, people want to go to these kind of Ponzi hotels, and it's all very nice. And don't get me wrong, I like old architecture, and especially on the mainland in England, there's loads of nice hotels that you can go and have a conference. But I think it's far more important that if we're going to do something like this, we have it somewhere where our people are helping others. Our people are helping our people.
Yes, and the interesting thing about the timing of the conference was the raise the flag situation erupted all around the country, and you spoke about that in your speech. If anyone wants to see Jayda's speech, you can see it on this channel, NHP UK TV, or you can also see it on my channel, NHP UK Press Office. And you mentioned about the flags, and this is what it's like in Northern Ireland. And I used to go to Northern Ireland when I was a kid, because half of my family's from Ballymena, that sort of area. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't believe it going there when I was a kid, like all the flags everywhere, red, white and blue curbstones everywhere. So patriotic. And whenever I go over there, I just get, you know what I mean? I get really emotional because it's so patriotic, and I'm very patriotic.
Do you know what, though? People don't know. This is the sad thing, is that I grew up on the mainland. I grew up in London. I'm not quite 40 yet, but nearly. And even coming up through the education system in England, we weren't taught about the Troubles. We weren't taught about any of that, really. And you know, this is shocking, but there are so many people in England that actually have very little awareness of Northern Ireland, even being part of the UK. I think that it came to people's attention more when the Irish Sea border occurred during the Brexit scam. But honestly, like all of these patriotic groups and accounts online that are, you know, not really feet on the ground, but keyboard warrior type stuff, talking about, you know, we need to do this and we need to do that. Well, there's a blueprint of how to do it in Northern Ireland. Like there's an actual blueprint of how to form groups in your own community. And it's obvious now. The trouble is, I spoke about the flag stuff when I was at your conference, because I was trying to say at the time, and I maintain this, we've done a lot to support that. We've given thousands of free flags to different estates in England, and they've all gone up, and it's great. But this is like this isn't just like, it's the same thing in Northern Ireland. This isn't just a gimmick. This is British people reclaiming our territory. And in Northern Ireland, of course, like a lot of this organisation happened post-trauma, if you like, post-civil unrest. So people realise we have to form up, otherwise we won't survive. But we don't have that. It hasn't happened in England yet. And so we're kind of on the back foot because we don't really know how to do it. But the blueprint is in Northern Ireland. And that was why I was keen to point out that there are a lot of people saying it's all these silly racists and knuckle draggers that are just putting these flags up, and it's silly and it's time wasting. It's just so not. It's really, really important, because what it showed me that Brits on the mainland are starting to remember our identity. And I've been up ladders, putting flags up on the side of people's houses and lampposts. I've done it, you know, and doing that in the middle of the night in the rain because you believe it is not, there are more fun things to do, believe it or not. So yeah, it's all good. It's scary times that we're in, but I think we're going in the right direction.
Welcome back, John. Over to you.
Thank you. Paul's been quiet. Paul, over to you, mate.
Yeah, hi, Jayda. Good to see you again. I've seen you for a long time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I grew up in Liverpool. Liverpool's a very sectarian city. And so the trouble's always sort of boiled over onto Liverpool. We had a big Orange Order, we had a big Catholic population, we had a big Republican community. And so we had sort of the blueprint as well for a community. You know, local churches were strong. We had a lot of Protestant churches. I remember going to a Baptist church as a child. We had a lot of things such as Boy Scouts and, you know, the Cubs and all sorts of the Junior Orange and stuff. And we used to have parades a lot. And Liverpool's always a very patriotic city. So I saw that. And really that sort of identity politics, it came out of sectarianism. Now, in Britain, we have a new sectarianism, because mass immigration has not just been about individuals coming and joining into our community, into marrying or whatever. It's been about new religions, new cultures coming into our community and setting up colonies. And those colonies have expanded in our cities, and they've taken over our cities. London has taken over. Birmingham's taken over. Manchester, if you go there, I mean, John lives in Oldham. I go to Manchester now, and I'm shocked how Manchester's been transformed in the past 20 years. And this colonisation is ongoing. These colonies are expanding. The numbers we know are going through the roof. Now, it's not just about colonisation. It's not just about one group asserting themselves in the face of another. This is ultimately about ethnic cleansing. The end plan of the Kalergi plan is not simply to create a kaleidoscope nation. It's to destroy the indigenous British people, to completely destroy us, not just in our cities, but in our towns, in our villages, in our hamlets, in every nook and corner of this society. And this has been ongoing since 1945. And so it's not just that way, you know, it's not a frivolous thing to put a flag up to make a statement that this is our land, because obviously we've seen all the other flags. We've seen the Palestinian flag, we've seen the Ukrainian flag, we've seen the gay flags and the trans flags. They've been flying everywhere, claiming territory. This is about the survival of our people. This is an existential battle that we're in. And therefore, we've got, even if you're sort of lukewarm about this or you're not engaged, this is about our very survival as a people. We've got a Labour government now, which has got a thumping majority given to it by the British people. I mean, I went and campaigned for reform at the last general election. And, you know, people were passionately they wanted the Tories out and they were going to give Labour a turn. And I said, if Labour get a chance, we'll accelerate the destruction of this nation. And that's what it's about, this Labour government. This Labour government's not interested in winning re-election, in, you know, boosting our economy. This Labour government is about accelerating the destruction of traditional Britain, putting their foot on the gas and destroying us and driving us out. And they've got 5 years with a thumping majority. And it's going to take something extraordinary to stop them, because we're passive in the face of this. I mean, it was only really that huge rally that Tommy Robinson had in London, the Unite the Kingdom rally, that really scared Labour because of the sheer number of people. I mean, you talk about the militaries tonight, the veterans. A lot of the military people can't go on these rallies. They're forbidden now by the Home Office. But veterans turned up. On that rally in London, there was hundreds of thousands of ex-army veterans. And they know the dilemma this country's in. And how are we going to survive now? This is the question tonight, really, because you talk about these murders in Huntington, the one in Uxbridge, constantly now, attacks every day. I mean, the murder's the tip of the iceberg, but, you know, underneath it all there's harassment, there's sexual harassment, there's sexual assaults, there's robberies. These people are coming in as an alien group and are terrorizing our communities. Low-level terrorism, high-level terrorism. It's ongoing. It's all about ethnic cleansing. And the question is, how are we going to fight back against this, not only in the short term, but in the long term? Because if we're going to survive, we've got to wake up. We've got to face the reality. We are in a battle for survival. Pat?
I'll just go over to Stuart. Do you want to contribute, Stuart?
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, my little contribution will be to all the listeners, watchers, we're a small little party. Could always do with a donation or two. Get some more leaflets out, popularise the party. Take a look at our website. We've got an interesting, very, very common sense set of protocols and policies that we'd like to implement, including leaving NATO. I think everybody is really catching on the last few years as to how many globalist or global entities, organisations that we are beholden to. We've got treaties with. I've always been very, very reasonable my whole life, but I'm getting a little bit intolerant now. I think we need to close the borders. What's our army doing? Where are they? Where's our navy? And I'm sorry, this one in, one out deal with the French is absolutely ridiculous. Talking of global things going on, have you seen what's COP30? Where Sadiq Khan and hundreds of others of our wonderful councillors and mayors have all popped off to nice little old Brazil, middle of the rainforest. They haven't gone there to camp. You know, they're not pitching up tents, helping the Amazonian people. No. Since March, they built a 4-lane highway, miles and miles into the middle of the rainforest. It's so confusing. It's in your face. They are, I can't put it any other way, they are taking the piss. And they want us to know about it. It's flaunted across all the social media, the news. They're down there flaunting around in the sunshine. Was it £16,000 a day it's costing us? Over £84,000 so far. That's taxpayers' money. That shouldn't be going out of the country. Going back to the globalist corporations. Where's our money going? Who owns our essential services? Who makes a profit out of those essential services while the essential services are run to shit? Thames Water. I think at one time it was 80% Chinese owned, 6 million or 6 billion or whatever in debt. It's ridiculous. The shareholders all get dividends. And those shareholders are not in this country. If the shareholders were in this country, living in this country, paying taxes and piling the money back into the business in the country, I'd be happy. Whoever owns it. But it's not. It's being sucked out of our country. Like property rents. I mean, I live in small 25, 30,000 people towns. It's another one 4-5 miles down the road. So many properties, rental for the local people, are not owned here. I had an experience myself a few years ago. Went to view a flat. I was one of 40 people that were allowed to view. Filled out this mega thick little application. Wanted to know everything about me. So I gave him that and I said, what's the chances then? And he went, well, to be honest with you, we pick the top 10 and then we send them off to the owner. And I went, oh, okay, where's the owner? Trying to think maybe it'd be a week or two before I hear. Oh, he's in Romania. And I was like, oh, does he just own this one flat? And he went, no, he owns this block across there and the block up the road. And he's also got a big posh house in the posh part of town. All of that money is being sucked out of the country. I would end foreign ownership, bring everything back to a national level where it serves the people. We need a new way forward because it's not working at all. And with that little black pill, I'll leave you with that, and hopefully get a white pill in before we finish up. Cheers.
Thanks, Stuart. Yeah, so just quickly, one of our policies is to nationalise utilities, gas, electricity and national rail system. There should be no foreign companies owning property or land in this country. We've got a policy banning foreign ownership of property and land in the UK. And the only thing what can destroy globalism is nationalism. And nationalism can't work without Christianity. And that's why we're Christian nationalists. And that's why we're so fond to have Jayda on our show and cooperate with Jayda, because she is also a Christian nationalist. So as Jayda's the guest, I'm going to hand it back over to Jayda, and if you want to respond to all of that, Jayda.
Yeah, it's interesting. Paul made a point earlier about Labour and the current situation that we're in with them. I had an interview with a guy in Serbia last week, and he was just sort of saying what's going on in the UK, because we're just seeing like constant attacks and blah blah blah. And also like they keep a keen interest on what's going on in the UK, as a lot of people do. They sort of see people around the world, even in the US. I've got a lot of friends in the US. They sort of see the UK as, if we don't fight against this, then the whole of Europe will fall. Even though we're a tiny island with finite resources, but we've got that reputation. But anyway, I was explaining to him that the situation with Labour is actually again, sorry, it's black pill, everybody, but it's not a black pill, because in the end we win, because we're Christians, so it's fine. But I was explaining to him that the situation we have with Labour is quite unique in that they were elected on a huge majority, the biggest that we've seen in a very long time. And so they had a mandate for their craziness, and they thought, okay, great. And then very shortly after they were elected, Reform, whom I'm no fan of, by the way, but Reform, which is another pressure valve establishment-backed party, looked as though it could, in quotes, break the two-party system. And we had the local elections where we saw massive gains for Reform and then huge losses for Labour. And it became apparent quite shortly, very, very quickly in their initial term, that they could not be re-elected. Right. And now this doesn't, for a party that's elected on such a majority, that is not necessarily a foregone conclusion. Like one might think, oh well, yeah, Labour should have expected to only do one term. No, not necessarily. We had the Tories in for 14 years before anybody said, right, enough's enough. And then they picked Labour. So talk about lunacy. But so the problem that we've got now is that because Labour understand that they cannot be re-elected, right? It's not going to happen unless something incredible happened in this country, which is not going to. Labour cannot get re-elected. So then there's I don't know if it was The Art of War that where this quote comes from, but basically the worst position you can put your opponent in is when they've got nothing to lose, right? If you take everything from someone, then their motive becomes purely ideological. So the prospect of these people being re-elected is off the table very early on in their term. So therefore, instead of them trying to placate people, instead of them trying to seem somewhat reasonable, they don't have to, because they know they can't be re-elected. So what we are seeing now is an ideological crusade, or I don't know, jihad, if you like, from communists who are just having a party. It would be like, I guess, if we woke up tomorrow and someone said, right, you five have got the run of the country for a year. And then after that, you're out. But you've got a year. Go and do your worst. Like you can imagine, this country would be a completely different place. And most of the people on the so-called right wing wouldn't even like the policies that I would support as a Christian nationalist, because this nation is an apostate nation. I think we're under God's judgment. I think we have been for a long time. And actually, frankly, we deserve the rulers that we've got. And, I can't say any more than that. But that's the problem that we have in the UK, is that this is ideological warfare now that we're seeing from Labour. That if they thought there was a possibility that they could try and win the next election, then they would try and appeal. You remember very early on in their term, before they got shaken up by the local elections, they were doing the whole we need to reclaim the Union flag. Do you remember that Keir Starmer was talking about? We need to reclaim the Union flag, and it needs to be, this is our flag. And it's like, listen, we know you guys don't support anything British remotely, or those Christian crosses on that flag. But so it's transparent as it was. They don't need to push that narrative anymore. Like, they don't need to toe the line of, we're going to deport these people and we're going to clean this up and we're going to do this. Yeah, they didn't need to. They said, no, we're going to take the money off the pensioners. We're going to bring the migrants in. We're going to swap the migrants, basically, one in, one out. So, yeah, I mean, the only good thing about it is that I'm still witnessing, like, in real time, it's radicalizing people even further on our side, which is a good thing. That's what we need. Polarization.
It is. Thank you. And thank you, Jackie Green. You put £5 in the bank account. Thank you very much, love. Thank you. So yeah, interesting stuff. But you know, on the election thing and the political thing, the Green Party have gained a lot of followers, but like, I think they're like disenfranchised Labour people, which even puts more pressure on Labour. Labour are gonna get wiped out. Angela Rayner's seat's going, guys. It's going. And at least one of either Jim McMahon or Deborah Abrams in Oldham's going. I don't think it'll be Deborah Abrams because she does a Saddleworth or the posh area. It's going to be Jim McMahon because they've absolutely pissed off everyone, including the Muslims. They're out. Labour Party are going. They're going to be. We're going to be seeing a new era of political thing. Yeah, we're going to get the has-beens. We're going to get a lot of the has-beens still in, but we're going to get new people in, and we're going to change politics in this country. And it's happening, guys. You don't see the little bottom levels. You don't see how many independent councillors. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about how towns are coming together with their own independent groups and taking controls of our entire towns. And I'm not just talking about reform. Crewe independents, they're a big powerful force in Crewe, and we are actually going to a meeting in Crewe, and we're going to be speaking with Councillor Brian Sylvester, who's a Crewe leader, the Crewe independents leader. So it's changing, guys. The political landscape's changing. And when me and Pat talked about getting involved in this party, Pat will 100% agree. This is what we predicted, and this is what was said is going to happen. And it has. And everything we've brought up at first when we started on about the 1951 Refugee Convention, nobody was talking about it. Now there is a little bit of discussion, but that banner's been shown to the world and people are waking up. They're waking up. So the political landscape is up for grabs. And certainly in Oldham, there's Workers' Party candidates going to be standing. And, you know, it really is opening up the doors for people to get involved in politics and start changing the country. It is. There's no... And, you know, I don't just say this on, like, it's my opinion. We've done, like, 3 years of streams, and we've said this on dozens of streams. Pat will agree, Paul will agree. We've said this. We know things are going to change, but it's dead interesting stuff. Jayda, just a bit off cuff. If you ever get married, you know how the princess has, like, the suitors to do 10 trials so they can marry her, yeah? I want to be the first person to do that.
I think the prospect of me getting married is pretty slim now, John. I think that window of opportunity's passed, but I'll keep it in mind.
It's wonderful to have you on, Jayda. And even whatever's happened over the past few years, you've been active. You've been doing stuff.
I've just been silent because I've been talking about things that people. Not like lots of people aren't speaking about because it's not lucrative. And, you know, I've been on my own little personal journey, obviously. Well, blimey, we're all on a journey, but I've been on my own personal journey, even politically and geopolitically. And there were I was involved in a lot of the kind of activism that I was involved in when people might have remembered me, if people can remember me. It's like a far cry, really, from what is needed now. And I'm not saying it wasn't needed at the time. I do believe in what I did at the time. And I think I think to a certain extent I was kind of unwittingly working for nefarious forces, and that was regrettable. But I don't actually regret the tone, because I think it was necessary. It's weird, isn't it, John? Because I remember like 10 years ago, you and I were out doing our thing, going into these occupied areas and giving these speeches and interviewing people and what have you. And I was confronting all these grooming gangs, and we were at the police stations and the council offices. And actually, I mean, people back then, it was only, 10 years ago, maybe 14, 15, but at a push. But people back then were so like naive to what was going on with regards to the demographic shift. And I remember trying to talk to people back then and saying, look, we are going to become a minority. I have a bit of a keen interest in demographics. I'm quite boring. I like reading. I like history. I like statistics. I like all these things that people don't necessarily want to look at. And I remember saying 15 years ago, like, this is not going to go away. We can't wish this away. We can't direct action or activism this away. Something needs to change. And like 10 years later, I don't know. It's like the country's a very different place. People have caught on, but it's a journey. And I do think that there's a lot to teach people about what's behind these agendas. And that's really contributed a lot to why people probably haven't seen me over the last few years, because I've been out there still working. I bumped into you on a few occasions over the last 5 years or 7 years even. But yeah, I think voices like ours and Pat, who, I mean, some of Pat's videos are superb, and you're just telling the truth and you're laying it out there, and you'd never get monetized for saying that. You'd get booted off of most platforms for saying it. But thank goodness we've got men who are prepared to do it and not and put that above taking a shekel. So well done to you all.
Thank you, Jayda. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you, Jackie, Tommy Trump. Yeah, I'll be at the camp on Friday. I'm think Pimpernel's coming down, so it'll be his first time at camp. So that'll be good. Mickey Trickster, thank you. Paul Jones, thank you. And anyone else, please subscribe to the channel. Look at some of my videos, good editing videos. I mean, getting really involved in community things. We've got a big community meeting on Thursday in Oldham, in the South Chadderton area, where that migrant hotel is. We've had the rape of a man by 3 men. We've had 4 people caught trying to meet kids online and stuff like that. One of them linked to the hotel, and Elusive Child Protection Unit did that. And in various areas, and the HMOs, it's a big problem with them HMOs as well. And we've done a stream on this, and I've already talked to councillors about repurposing HMOs, not for migrants or people outside the area, for people within the community where these HMOs are going, to cut down on antisocial behaviour. We've got the police now arresting people if you say something like, get back to your own country. I'm involved in a case where a lad has said that, and he's been arrested for a charge. It's something I want to talk to you about, Jayda. And I'm absolutely furious, mate. We've got a big meeting in South Chadderton. I'm going, and I'm going to be speaking to the police and the couple of councillors of that area. And last week, me and my mate Melanie, we went confronting 2 other local councillors about the issues at this hotel. And I said to him, if you don't do something, it won't be us that cause trouble. It'll be somebody who comes from outside who wants to do worse, not the local people. And whatever happens within these hotels, people are pointing the finger at the local people, and it's not their fault. It's not them who put the people in the hotels. It's not them who are causing trouble and swearing and throwing things at the hotel and trying to burn them down. It's not them local people, and the finger's being pointed. So getting involved in community, big community meeting on Thursday for me. So that's my bit for the week. But we've got to speak out, and people have to hear us speaking out. And I'm not saying I've used my noggin, but the only councillor out of 60 councillors in Oldham, 1 councillor has been down to try and engage with the local community. All the others have been sat on their iPhones, doing social media posts, pointing a finger and calling us them words that we don't recognize. We don't recognize them politically correct words, and that's what they're doing. And we called them out last week, and I'm going to call them out on Thursday as well. So really getting involved in community politics, going to community groups and stuff like that. We've got a few people now around Ashton and Oldham, and it's looking like people might have to start up their own neighbourhood watch schemes and stuff like that. And we are seriously looking into this kind of stuff. And, we'll get pressure and we'll get called for doing it, but nobody else is protecting British citizens. And if you haven't seen what's gone on that train, what happened to Wayne Broadhurst and what happened to Rihanna White, if you haven't noticed any of these things, then you are blind. You are blind, and we can only take so much. I don't want to kick off. I don't want anyone smashing anything up, but it won't be me who's causing that trouble. It'd be somebody else doing it and somebody else causing it. Yeah, I'll get the finger pointed at me. So, do things the right way. Don't just go smashing something up. Go to your local community meeting and have it out with your councillor and the police or local police people. You can easily find the details of your local police. And I tell you, report everything to them. Even if you don't think they're going to listen, report everything to them. Because when eventually something does happen, you'll have a backup that you've been reporting things and going the right way. So just get really involved, guys. That's what I want to do. But anyway... Pat, over to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to just the political situation. We're in unprecedented times now. All across Europe, the Labour Party, the Tory Party are finished. They're not going to recover. And, odds on, I don't like Reform, but Reform are going to be probably the next government. But what people have got to remember about Reform is a very new party. It's very fragile. And that Reform UK could easily fall apart with internal trouble because Farage doesn't want anyone in charge but him. And what I would say, because it is disheartening for the smaller parties when they see the Reform surge. I mean, I was out canvassing on Monday night, and the response you get on the doorstep is just incredible. I mean, people are so desperate for a genuine, patriotic nationalist party. Even the Muslims want a Christian nationalist ruling over them rather than an atheist Labour Party official. I mean, it's incredible. And like I said, the other smaller parties, there's a lot of smaller parties. Just keep going, keep doing what you're doing. Don't get disheartened because of Reform, because further along down the line, Reform are going to fall apart. That's what I predict anyway. That's what I hope. And I wouldn't advise anyone to join Reform, anyone to donate to Reform. The very least, tactically vote for them. That's what I would say. So, just keep going, have faith in Christ, try and get Christian values back into, campaign on that message all the time, as much as you can. And, my election campaign is going very well. And if Reform stand 3 candidates in my ward, because there's 3 positions up for election, it could be a problem. But I think I could still have a good chance. But if Reform only have 1 candidate, it's going to be very good news for me. And I can't see Reform UK getting 55 candidates in Camden, because I've heard they're having serious trouble getting candidates in Greenwich from one of my old BNP colleagues. They even asked her to stand, and she said, well, you won't let me stand for you. She's joined them and everything. I won't say the name, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same situation in Camden, probably even worse, because I would say Greenwich, there's quite a big BNP presence in Greenwich and not so much in Camden. So, it's all to play for, and it's going to be very interesting the next 2 or 3 years. Like John said, you've got the Workers' Party, and it's looking like the Green Party are going to replace the Labour Party, potentially Corbyn's party as well. But a lot of people think that the Muslims are going to vote for Corbyn's party, but they're not, because they don't want the trans agenda. They don't want open borders. People don't understand that Muslims want I speak to them all the time. They want the borders closed. Now, I didn't want the Muslims coming here in the first place, but they're here and they're in my constituency, and quite a few of them vote for me. And, you know, individually, they're nice people. But, you know, my most passionate voters are the English. There's still a lot of English left in London. And this is what annoys me with other nationalists, when they just seem to like abandon, like, I won't name any names, but there's various parties. They say, oh, no, they're never going to stand in London or the big cities again. And, you know, what about the English people who are left in Manchester, Birmingham, London? You know, there's about 2 million indigenous British people left in London. That's more than the population of Manchester and Liverpool combined. It's a hell of a lot of people. Half of those, you know, they're lefties, but half of them are patriotic cockneys, you know. So, yeah, that's my outlook on the future. My campaign's going really well. If anyone's interested in standing in local elections, contact John or myself or Paul in Liverpool, or just email us, admin@nationalhousingparty.uk. If you just want to join the party, stay in the background, which is a big motivational help to all the members in the party, you can join, £22 a year on the website. Go to the website, nationalhousingparty.uk. So, yeah, that's my outlook for the future. And I think the future is looking bright. I'm a Christian. Christ is king, and we will not fail.
You know what I wanted to say there, Pat, is that, yeah, Labour may have given up in the future, although it's the Labour movement is a huge organisation and it will kick back into life one way or another. But it's the Lib Lab Con. This is why you go back to the 1951 UN Convention, because the destruction of our country, this demographic transformation, goes back to the end of the Second World War. This is a plan that they've had in place to gradually destroy the British people. And the Liberal Democrats are doing well in local elections. They're building up their strength. I mean, the Tories were very happy to pass the baton on to Labour. Labour will be very happy to pass the baton on to the Lib Dems, because they're all globalists. They've all got the same agenda, the replacement of the British people. Now, Nick Griffin said something interesting last week when he was on the stream, that just like the UKIP stood on the shoulders of the BNP, so we can stand on the shoulders of reform. Because the good thing about reform is it's going to blow the Lib Lab Con to pieces. And it's not controlled reform because it wants us, it's so committed to leaving the EU, which is a core element of the globalist agenda. The globalists can't get a real grip of it. It's going to be elusive, and they're going to make promises to the British people about immigration and about the rebirth of our nation, which they're going to find difficult to fulfill. This is where the nationalists and the local politicians, this is where we get our strength from, because we can then take on that agenda and push it forward. But we want the Lib Lab Con to be broken. Jayda, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do think, other parties, smaller parties, for want of a better word, or more genuine parties, let's say, absolutely just need to ride the wave of reform. That's what's going to happen. I actually thought at one point a few months ago, when they had all that bickering, do you remember they were all fighting online and people were resigning, the Muslim guy resigned, and it was like, oh my goodness, this is just a mess. And I thought they'll be lucky if they last until the election. But if they do manage to keep it together until the election, which it looks like they've kind of calmed down now, if they do manage and they form a government, it'll be the beginning of the end for them. In fact, the local election should have been, this is the problem, is that people are not community driven enough. And this is where smaller parties are important, but also like community groups. So the Christian Nationalist Party, we support both. We support political parties and community groups, Christian groups, and other forms of activism. Because after the local elections and Reform gained control of so many councils in England, there should have been immense pressure put on them by their voters to withdraw all funding to these migrant hotels. Just withdraw immediately, like no discussion, pull the funding. See, the problem is a lot of these people, these are all elitists. Like Nigel Farage isn't a man of the people. He didn't grow up in the same council estate that I grew up on. This man is like a multimillionaire banker. So unfortunately, people didn't exercise the strength that we had because the right wing are so concerned about infighting. No infighting. Well, sometimes you've got to put pressure even on your guy, whether it's Farage, whether it's Trump. You have to put pressure on your guy. And we see that works because, like, even for example, the current kind of like catchphrase, if you like, on the right wing is remigration. Everybody's talking about remigration. Send them back, send them all back. They're all going back. It's a lovely concept, but in practice, it's very difficult to do. And this side of a civil war, I don't think it's possible. But, you know, listen, I actually think, like I think with the flags, I don't necessarily think that this harsh rhetoric, and this is where myself and some other people disagree on this point, but I actually think that the harsh rhetoric, even as unrealistic as it may be, is not necessarily a bad thing, because what we need to do is make our nation a hostile environment for people that are either not from here or people that want to destroy it from within, who are from here and just hate it for some reason. They hate themselves. And so when Reform do get even more power, they're going to bitterly disappoint people. And you see this on a smaller level or a less political level with other activists. Like Paul mentioned earlier about the Tommy Robinson rally. There were vast amounts of people that went to that rally, and it was kind of pitched as a festival, which I don't really think that we're in a position to throw a festival. Like, we can't throw a party given the state that the country's in, but whatever. People are looking for something. But the problem was the next day, I spoke to so many people that were just completely deflated because they were like, okay, what now? So maybe not the next day, but maybe the following week, when the adrenaline calmed down, when all the pictures had been passed around and all the footage had been shown of the big crowds and everybody's buzz wore off, everybody was like, okay, we've done that, but what next? Like, what difference has it made? And this is going to be what happens with Reform. Reform are talking a good game, but when if they get into power, they are not going to round all these people up and get rid of them, because because they're just part of the establishment, the same as the Lib Lab Con. They need to prop up the economy. These people are the elite. They don't care whether they're propping up the economy with Mohammed and Ali. They don't care. We're not producing the children. We're killing our children in the womb, 1 in 3 pregnancies. So don't for a moment think that Reform have knocked you out the game. They are paving the way for you. You just need to ride that wave patiently. And I know how much work you put in, Pat. Like, I know that you are just such a grafter. I know that you do on your with your campaign work. Just keep it going. Just keep it going. And at the same time, the work that John is doing, forming community groups and community connections, all of this is invaluable. I'll say this one last thing. In Northern Ireland, when all of the troubles happened, when all the troubles started kicking off, actually the main structure of government starts to collapse. So because people don't want to get blown to smithereens. And so what you found in Northern Ireland there were men that were in positions of authority, local men who may have been a minister, who may have been a baker, right? But somebody who put themselves forward and said, right, I'm interested in looking after this community. And it was like self-appointed leaders, basically, who were welcomed by the community, suddenly became like your local councillors. And a lot of the elected representatives were nowhere to be seen. They didn't want to be at the forefront because they couldn't face what was coming. So we just need men that are willing to stay the course. And that's the main thing, is it's like, if you remain dedicated, there's so many different fads going on and everybody's distracted by all this nonsense. But if you can just remain focused and keep grafting, you will be able to benefit from the space that Reform will create politically, the void that they will create by their inevitable failings. I don't want that to happen, right? I would love, let's just say, ideal, Reform get into power and become the most right-wing Christian nationalist party in the world. Fantastic. Like, I'd cheerlead for them all day long. But I'm a realist. It's not going to happen. There's going to be a spring. There's going to be a void left. And you guys just go straight into it.
Yeah, of course we do. We talked about this already. We've talked about it already. But thank you very much. We've gone over our hour. Thank you to the chat. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Stuart.
Can't we just mention that thing about Tucker Carlson quickly?
Oh, yeah, go on. You know, I thought you'd said it. Go on.
Yeah, no, because I wanted to mention this because I think it's quite groundbreaking what's just happened with Tucker Carlson in America. And, you know, Israel has basically declared war on Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is just so massive in America. This is going to be massive. And the reason it affects us is because the reason I didn't go on Tommy Robinson's march is because it was a Zionist march, and I'm not going to go on a Zionist march. Simple as that. And what's happening in America with Tucker Carlson, I think there's going to be a massive awakening, and it's going to affect this country, hopefully in a positive way, because let's have it right, the majority of the patriotic movement in this country has been taken over by Zionism, and that's not good for our country. So
sorry to jump in. What's everybody think about his nice little holiday PR paid trip to Israel? Because from what I'm seeing on social media, it is
there's a lot of people waking up because of that.
But we don't want Zionists running our movement, and we don't want the momentum we're getting to split. So, how do we carry on?
I'm just trying to explain that this Tucker Carlson incident might have a ripple effect into our country regarding, you know, the Zionists hijacking our movement, because, you know, they're not. I personally think that it might get to the stage where they're going to shut the internet down, because the reason Tucker is so massive and they're not going to be able to stop him is because of the internet and YouTube and Rumble and X. And
but they've taken over.
It's either going to be the real patriots are going to take over, or they shut the internet down. That's what I think it's going to come to. So, what do you think about that, Paul?
They can't shut the internet down. They can't stop the movement of the free movement. I think Israel's being exposed, and I think America's civility to Israel is being exposed. And people, we don't want to fight wars for Israel. We don't want to be part of a greater Israeli movement. We want to save our country. We want to save the West. We want to save our Christian heritage. We want to save our traditions. And I think the tidal wave of nationalism which is rising now will just sweep away the Zionists and the people who are genuine patriots who put America first, put Britain first, will come to the fore.
Jayda?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot being done to break down the Zionist control of our respective movements in the UK and the US. Zionism has completely bastardized the right wing in the UK for many years, and the tool that they used to do that was, of course, Tommy Robinson. And in the US, it's slightly different because those poor souls were indoctrinated by a Bible that was mass produced and given out for free, which has outrageous anti-Christian footnotes, the Schofield Bible. There is a lot there are people saying that really the kind of the boomer generation, if you like, are sort of the last people clinging on to this. It's very difficult when you have accepted a narrative for the majority of your life. You've attended a church for the majority of your life that has told you that you will only be saved if you bless Israel. I feel so terrible for the Americans that have been indoctrinated into this heresy, but I do think that people's eyes are being opened. Tucker Carlson's work is invaluable. And Tommy Robinson actually did so much damage to himself on this humiliation tour that it's something to be celebrated. I think that this was really... I mean, look, these guys could, if they had an ounce of decency, just take their ill-gotten gains. These people have pulled millions out of this movement. Just take it and go, just leave people that actually love the country. But it's egos and it's money. But no, it's going the right way. People are waking up to Israel. And look, if there's I am absolutely, my priority is my country, but I am a Christian, and it's undeniable that the footage that has come out of Gaza and the assault on the Palestinian people, the genocide of the Palestinian
which we
people,
are funding.
yeah, which we're funding, and which, in fact, people have been turning a blind eye to this for many years, and decades. This has been going on for. A lot of this information wasn't available to nationalists. A lot of this information about Israel, people just bought the sound bites. If Israel falls, the West is next. That actually doesn't make any sense. If someone can give me a plausible reason why people say that, I'll listen. But everyone, I do think they're starting to wake up.
It's not really just about Israel. It's about the Greater Israel Project, of which the Khaledi plan was part of it. Because their project is not just to control a strip of land in the Middle East; it's to control the whole West. So they want it. They will not relinquish control of our movements. That's why they're at war with Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes, because that would mean they would lose control of our movements. They would be pushed out. They want to keep control, and they want everything to be controlled by them, and to empower them, and really undermine us and destroy us. We get back to the demographic replacement that's happening in this country. It all started after the Second World War, and it was by the United Nations. The United Nations was created in New York for one reason only. New York is the center of Israeli power, of Jewish power, and that's what we're all
control,
fighting
don't they,
against.
Paul? They
What's
have,
that?
So Pat suggested that they might shut down the internet. Well, to a certain extent, they have. Because people like myself and yourself, Pat, who speak out against Israel, are strangled. I mean, if you compare my reach to those who are just trash posting, the same old anti-Muslim content. Some of these accounts are sharing videos of mine from 15 years ago when I was running through the streets of a cross, right? And they're doing it because they're making money. So to a certain extent, they have shut down the internet because they deplatformed us. And so again, though, this goes back to why it's so important that we have actual community politics, because see, in Northern Ireland, I can walk into a band hall tonight and say, did you see that thing about Tucker Carlson? And there'll be maybe 30 youngsters in that band hall that have just finished band practice. And they're like, who's Tucker Carlson? Right? And I say to them, oh, he's a guy in America, speaking out against Israel. And they're like, okay, yeah, cool, on board with that. We've seen what's going on in Israel, don't like it. But they're like, okay, let's talk about Britain now. Within their community, and I'm not saying ignorance to geopolitics is a good thing, but they are so rooted in their own community. I don't think a lot of people in Ulster even realise that there's a world beyond the UK. Like, they just don't care. And that's not because they're ill-educated, but they are so invested in their own community that if they did shut the internet down, those kids, it wouldn't bother them. They would still end up getting married young and having a whole heap of kids and doing their parades every week and making sure they were ready to fight the opposition in their own land. None of this would affect them. So, yeah, we are coming up against powerful forces that can shut us down on the internet, and they have shut us down on the internet. But if we've got boots on the ground, then Twitter doesn't really matter.
We came across that. We came across when we was in Northern Ireland, me and Pat, and it was a small community near where the Titanic memorial was, because you could see it in the background, and they looked after each other. If someone had an issue and that person was at work all day, the neighbour would be phoning the council for them. If someone had to go to hospital and a family had to go, the next door neighbour would take them to hospital. They're so tight in the community. Do you remember that, Pat?
Yeah, by the bonfire.
Yeah, by the bonfire.
Yeah, I remember,
I loved it, me. I so loved it, and felt such a spirit and faith. And it's really has opened my eyes them couple of years I've done in Northern Ireland, and I can't wait to get back over there, to tell you the truth.
All British patriots should do a Northern Ireland pilgrimage to see what British patriotism actually looks like. Honestly, I would advise it.
Oh, thank you, Jayda. Thank you very much. It's been great having you on the show.
Hopefully thank you, Jayda.
Come on again. I'm going to bombard you. I've got a couple of issues with two people on the opposite sides of the country, but the same things happening to them. But you'll get the gist when I send you the information.
This is legal stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a bit crazy, honestly. You just couldn't make it up. I'm fuming, me. It's happened to a neighbour of mine, and I'm ecstatic about it that they're fitting him up, and I'm just not having it, you know. And the housing association's involved. I've been to police station twice. I've been to housing association, and it's really like ticked me box, and it's happened to somebody else down south, and does me own. But anyway, thank you very much. God bless everyone. Thank you, Stuart. We'll get you a bit more chatty next week. And Jayda, it's so nice to have you on the show. So nice.
Thanks for having me, guys. Nice to speak to you all.
Brilliant to meet you, Jayda.
God
Thanks
bless.
for your input.
Big up, everyone.
See ya. God bless.